So for the thematic case study, we've looked at the FRAC in Dunkirk, which is the regional collection of contemporary art. The building was designed by Lacaton and Vassal, who extended on from the Halle AP2, which is a disused shipbuilding warehouse in the port of Dunkirk. In order of the four sections, first it's my section Ben, then Daniel, then Julian, and then Jaehoon. So my question was, how does the case study relate to studio-specific criteria? And in this case, it is the idea of critical spatial practice. I began by analysing the spatial design of the FRAC, whilst at the same time trying to understand Jane Rendell's concept of critical spatial practice. One theme of the FRAC design is this idea of creating an abundance of public spaces. Lacaton and Vassal, the architects, questioned the competition's preconception that the FRAC would be hosted in the original Halle AP2, a disused shipbuilding warehouse, and instead they opted to leave the AP2 all but untouched and restore it to the public realm. In doing this, the architects challenged conventional gallery design and produced a kind of reception that, unlike most lobbies of contemporary galleries, is a genuinely public space. Another common theme is the idea of creating spaces free from physical constraints. Not only did the architects preserve the AP2's sheer openness, what they called its most exceptional quality, the FRAC extension had been designed in mind of creating spaces that could adapt and evolve to suit changing needs. This relates to critical spatial practice, which calls for spaces that ask questions and stimulate, as opposed to ones that are rigid and easily defined. The third theme relating the case study to critical spatial practice is the idea of site-specific design. The FRAC is, in terms of its massing at least, an exact replica of the original hall. Inside, the spaces have been carefully curated as to capitalise on the exceptional views over Dunkirk and the North Sea. The project is also further integrated into the site, with a large walkway emerging seamlessly from the building. Then, finally, the project shared with critical spatial practice an emphasis on working between the lines. A key part of the FRAC's programme is this idea of transitional spaces that connect the different spaces they serve. Lacaton and Vassal selected the qualities of these spaces and used them appropriately in their thresholds. For example, much of the project's circulation is placed on the edge of the structure. Whilst it's still within the mass of the building, transparent cladding draws in plenty of natural light and creates an environment neither internal nor external.
In my part of the case study, I've been looking at how the architects reacted to the climate change emergency. While from the exterior the building appears to have a thin outer shell, the interior is of a concrete construction. This prevents mass heat loss throughout the winter and allows for circulation spaces around the building. In summer, it also provides access for hot air to flow out of the building, reducing the requirement for heating and cooling over the winter and summer months. The diagram on the right shows the spaces that act as an almost wall cavity, allowing for a flow of air as well as a buffer zone to the inner core where the galleries are kept. Another approach the architects took in their response to the climate crisis was in their choice of material. In choosing ETFE, they could achieve the transparent appearance they were after, while also using a widely recycled material. To create the look, layers of polymer sheet are stacked and then inflated to create cushions, which are then fixed to a lightweight metal frame. In normal ETFE construction, the material can be stacked many times to create a relatively insulative material. However, in this case, the architect's desire to keep the facade transparent, as well as the use of an inner core of the building, meant that that was never pursued. This type of facade covering is also able to last, with its minimum lifespan being 40 years. This means that the building's interior can be adapted to serve the needs of its users in future, while remaining within the same outer shell.
So I'm doing the question 4 in this case study, which is talking about the architect's theoretical positions, and in this case study is a renewed project of an old warehouse in France. There are 3 main design approaches in this building. First, the idea of remain the old warehouse and transform it into a new gallery spaces by adding a new identical building next to it. Since the architects Lacaton suggests the idea to expand the building and add new component on top of it, but never demolish the existing building. And the next one is about the freedom of use. So this architects usually will design additional spaces into each project. The idea behind it is to provide the opportunity for the building users to explore the potential of these additional spaces. How can the building users change the additional spaces from an empty space into the space belong to their own, which also suggests that by adding additional space into the building to increase the flexibility of the space and also have a better sustainability in the further development. And finally, is to utilize the natural resources such as sunlight and wind. In this project, the main materials for the buildings are transparent materials such as plastic. By using these materials, it is possible to provide better spatial experience by allowing more sunlight get into the gallery spaces, and also using transparent materials to allow the building users experience the thermal condition.
The FRAC is the building designed for the collection and exhibition of the arts, and today this building will be explored based on the question, how does the case study relate to other buildings of its type? To answer this question, the buildings on FRAC site and 2 other buildings has been explored. FRAC is located in the harbor in Dunkirk, France, which face the Strait of Dover. The buildings that surround the FRAC is mostly used for the sailing club, logistics service, and seafood wholesale. While those spaces are mostly covered with the solid wall, the FRAC consists of the existing space which had been remodeled from the boat warehouse Halle AP2 and new space made of glass and steel frame. This analysis shows that not only FRAC has a different function, but also has a different type of mass, structure, and space from the surrounding buildings. Now, turning view to the other buildings similar to the FRAC. Tate Modern is the art gallery located in Bankside, and it had been constructed by renovating the existing space of old power plant building. However, unlike the FRAC, most of the interior space has been covered with a solid wall, except for the long skylights and part of the entrance. Whitworth Gallery is the art gallery located near to the Manchester University. Like FRAC, Whitworth Gallery consists of 2 spaces. One is remodeled from the existing space in Manchester University, and the other is new space. In summary, FRAC is related to the Tate Modern and Whitworth Gallery in the way of renovating the existing space and design the new one next to existing space to provide the visitors with artistic activities and exhibitions.